Hello everyone, it's spoiler time here in Arena Underground. This week we are showing you the new cards from Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. As always, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to click that like and subscribe button below. It's a way to support the channel for free. And now let's go right into the previews. Okay, so here we see Lutri, the Spell Chaser. 3 mana, 3/2, 1 colorless, 2 in the combination of or blue and red. Legendary creature, Elemental Otter. That's cool already. We haven't seen otters a lot. So this is a companion card. Each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name. That is the requirement to have Lutri as your companion. Meaning just exactly what it says. Each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name. So basically you can build some sort of singleton deck. So maybe you can play this in your commander, in your brawl deck, any sort of singleton strategy most likely. Other than that, it's a flash creature. So that's already a good creature overall. It doesn't really have to be a companion. But 3 mana, 3/2, flash. When Lutri's the Spell Chaser enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for that copy. So yeah, this is pretty cool effect that again in the Izzet colors is usually really good. We know that blue and red strategies are mostly around instant and sorcery spells that you're trying to cast multiple at the same time. So being able to flash this in, let's put an example of a shock. If you are playing a shock which is 2 mana, and maybe it's actually 1 mana for a shock, deals 2 damage, you may flash this in, right? You flash Lutri in for 3, so you need to have at least 4 mana to do that combo, and you get to copy shock for free and target another creature or the same creature if you need to deal damage twice. So yeah, I think Lutri, it's a pretty cool card already as a creature. As a companion, I'm not quite sure if we're going to see any play of this card in standard, but I'm sure somebody will try to make some sort of janky deck with it. Okay, moving on. Alright, here we see another companion, Umori the Collector, 4 mana, 4/5, legendary creature Ooze. So already this is a cool card, meaning it has good stats, 4 mana, 4/5. You know, it's not a crazy mutation type creature, but it's a fine creature, 4 mana, 4/5 in the combination of Golgari colors. So you can play this in your mono green deck, mono black, or your Golgari or Sultai deck. Now, as a companion, it says each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. So this is a little better than Lutri. You actually get to create a deck that could be just creatures, could be creatures and enchantments, because there's a lot of creatures that share that type that are enchantment creatures. There's also artifact creatures, so you can make a deck around things like that as long as they share a type. Again, types are like creatures, enchantments, instants, sorceries, etc. So ideally you probably want to create something like that, artifact creatures, enchantment creatures, when you can play enchantments and creature cards in your deck and take advantage of Umori. As a creature, it has extra benefits. It says as Umori the Collector enters the battlefield, choose a card type. In this case, whatever you're playing, if you're playing enchantment creatures, you might want to choose enchantments, or you might want to just choose creatures. And then it says spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. So that's pretty cool. It allows you to have this deck around this type of card, and then you get to cast them for 1 less. So I could see this being played in some sort of ramp strategy where you get your Umori the Collector on the battlefield on turn 2, turn 3 with a little bit help from some ramp cards. And then at that point, everything else costs 1 less. So you do get to get the full advantage of Umori. Otherwise, if you have to wait for turn 4, it might not be that great. But if you do use it as your companion, it's already on your sideboard. You can cast it at any time that you can. So it could work out. I think definitely much better to see play as a companion in standard. Okay, moving on, we see Evasion Protocol. 2 mana enchantment, 1 colorless, 1 blue. It says, whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1. When you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Okay, so Evasion Protocol, I don't think it's like broken or anything like that, right? It's just a normal card per se. But I like the fact that it allows you to blink something, meaning, you know, exile that artifact or creature and it comes back into the battlefield afterwards. So you get to blink that card and maybe get that enter the battlefield effect again. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Cycling is the thing. I don't know if we're gonna see play of this card too much right now, because I don't think the cycling cards that have been previewed already are that amazing. But it's possible that maybe with rotation later on, we do see more play of Evasion Protocol with all the cycling cards. Maybe we see the cycling lands again, and that could be good for having Evasion Protocol in your list. Okay, now we're looking at Shovelbane of Monsters, 2 mana, 1/3 in the Golgari colors, 1 black, 1 green. Legendary creature, human rogue. It has Death Touch. And it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if your opponents control no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Then it says, whenever a permanent an opponent controls with a bounty counter on it dies, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Okay, so Shovel, I think it's a fine card as a 2 mana 1/3 with Death Touch. You can play it in your Sultai deck and your Golgari deck. It serves as a defensive, you know, 1/3 Death Touch creature. You could definitely mutate into this card to get the advantage of the effects. I don't think the whole bounty counter thing, it's that great. I mean, yes, you gain 3 life if something dies, so it's like an extra benefit if you are playing this card. So I see this as, again, if you think this card is good on your deck as a 2 mana 1/3 Death Touch creature, it's also a human, so you could maybe play it in some sort of absent strategy. You get a little bit of extra benefit from these bounty counters. It's, you know, legendary creature, so that definitely pairs up with the human strategy that's coming up with Ikoria. Let's talk about that later. Let's move on for now. Okay, we're looking at Grim Dancer, 3 mana 3/3 creature nightmare. It says Grim Dancer enters the battlefield with your choice of 2 different counters on it from among Menace, Death Touch, and Lifelink. So if you look at this card, it's just a 3 mana 3/3. It's a fine card. It's a regular card. But the cool thing is it comes in and you put 2 different counters on it. So it could be Death Touch and Lifelink. It could be Menace and Death Touch, or Menace and Lifelink. So that's already pretty cool stats. It's not an amazing broken card if you look at a lot of the other cards that have been previewed already for Ikoria. But the cool thing about this, I think, is if you are playing some sort of mutation lists, mutation strategy, you can bring this card in on turn 3, put the best counters or keyword counters you think you need for your game style, for your strategy, and then mutate into this creature. And then whatever, you know, if you have a flying first strike or a double strike mutation into Grim Dancer, that's also going to get the keyword counters because of the effect of the mutation, then this card could be really good. So I think we're definitely going to see play of this card in standard once Ikoria comes out. I like this card. Okay, now we're looking at Jurina Kudrow, 4 mana 3/3 in the Mardu colors, 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 white, 1 black. Jurina Kudrow tells me that this is maybe some sort of family member from the Kudrow family, which we've already seen a card spoiler for General Kudrow. Legendary creature, human soldier as well. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool note to take there. It says, when Jurina Kudrow enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. So that tells me this is more a card to be played in limited and commander and brawl style decks, because you can take advantage of the command zone option. That said, I think this could see play in standard as well, because it has an extra effect that says other humans you control get +2/+0. So that means in itself it's not an amazing card because it's a 4-mana 3/3, so you know the advantage you get from putting this down in a standard list is not great. But if you have a human strategy in these Mardu colors or Orzhov, you know, something where you can bring this in, obviously you need the red, right? To play this card, but it could be your finisher. If you're playing maybe a human tribal token strategy where you have a bunch of tokens on turn 4 already on the battlefield, maybe 5 or 6 tokens, you play Jurina, you attack with everything, that's 12 damage coming in just from those small creatures that are already on the battlefield. So that's pretty cool. Even in the late game, again, you want to have a big board of creatures, bring Jurina down and +2 on each of those creatures and go for the attack. So I think that's where we could see Jurina being played. Again, it's a legendary creature, human soldier, so it pairs up with the all humans get +1/+1 from General Kudrow, as well as there's an Orzhov card that I think we previewed on last Sunday. If you want to see General Kudrow as well, just look at the last week on Arena show, that episode that we did on Sunday. You can see the Kudrow and the other 2-mana 2/2 that I'm talking about, which makes every legendary humans indestructible. So I think this card could pair up well with those. Alright, moving on. We see Riel the Everwise, 3-mana 0/3 in the Izzet colors. Legendary creature, human wizard. Riel the Everwise gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, this is usually what you see in any wizards creatures in Magic. They either get +1 when you play instants and sorceries, or they get +1 from the instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Now it also says whenever you discard one or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. So I think Riel, it's pretty cool. I think you could see a lot of play in Izzet strategies like Arclight Phoenix's decks. That again, if you're playing Izzet, a lot of times you're playing a lot of instants and sorceries, and you want to be cycling your cards, the cards from your hand. Not only the cycling mechanic itself, but also there's a lot of cards like Cathartic Reunion that just is coming out with Ikoria, and there's other cards that I forget the names, but you get to discard 2 cards maybe to draw 1, or discard 1 card to draw 2 cards. And with Riel on the battlefield, you not only get those extra cards from the spell you cast, but you get 2 more cards. You get the same amount that you just draw from that spell with the effect of Riel. So that's pretty insane, I think, especially in that kind of strategy. And I think if we see a strategy like that and Riel on the battlefield, you want to remove this as soon as possible from the battlefield, or your opponent's going to get a lot of benefits from it. All right, pretty cool card. Now we're looking at Gavi, Nest Warden. It's a 5-mana 2/5 in the Jeskai colors, 2 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white, legendary creature, human, shaman. So we see another legendary creature, human, in this case a shaman. You may pay 0 rather than pay the cycling cost of the first card you cycle each turn. Now this is an interesting effect. There's a lot of cycling cards. It could be like an 8/8 creature that has cycling 3, cycling 2, cycling 5, and you get to pay 0 rather than the cost to cycle that card. So this could be interesting in a cycling Jeskai strategy. But it also says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 red and white dinosaur cat creature token. So this card could be really good. I could definitely see being played in a Jeskai control type deck, where you want to be drawing extra cards, creating 2/2 red and white dinosaurs, and maybe cycling the things that you don't want for 0 cost. So yeah, Gavi is pretty cool. I mean, I'm not sure myself right now if I would have a deck around Gavi, but I could see Gavi being played in standard every now and then for sure. Okay, now we're looking at Extinction Event, 4-mana sorcery in the black colors. Choose odd or even. Exile each creature with converted mana cost of the chosen value. So this is a cool sorcery. I don't think it's going to take the place of a Wrath per se, but maybe you have this in your sideboard depending on what you're playing against, and it could be really good. Just imagine if you are playing black, but you're playing against an opponent that's playing maybe mono black devotion. How many cards you can choose that are odd or even from that deck? I think a lot. You have Cauldron Familiar, which is 1 mana. That's an odd number, right? You have, what else? You have Grey Merchant, which is 5 mana spell. That's an odd number. You have Murderer's Rider, 3 mana spell. You have Ayara, 3 mana spell, again in the odd. And then in the even side, you have Nightmare Shepherd. You have Temerit. You have Yarok's Fenlurker. So there's a lot you can do if you're playing against a deck that you know has a lot of creatures, again in the odds, and even better if it's more in one side than the other, right? So yeah, pretty cool. I like this card. Moving on. Okay, we see Lurrus. I think this is our final spoiler for the day. We see Lurrus of the Dream Den. 3 mana, 3/2. 1 colorless, 2 in the combination of black or white. So pretty cool already. It has lifelink, and it says, as a regular spell, it says, during each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So just starting looking at this card, this is already a really nice card. It's a 3 mana, 3/2 with lifelink. Then it also have the extra effect with that allows you to cast a permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. That's great. I mean, if I'm playing some sort of maybe Orzhov drain strategy where your creatures are going to be dying, being sacrificed for you to drain your opponent, go to the graveyard, this card allows you to just get 1 creature back each turn, allowing you to trigger those maybe enter the battlefield effect or sacrifice effects again next turn. So this card could be really good in a strategy like that. And then obviously it's a companion, and the requirement to use this as your companion is each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. This card could be really good if somebody finds a way to break this card, make a list that breaks, you know, it's possible that somebody tries to break the meta with this, because you get each permanent card in your starting deck converted mana cost 2 or less. So you can have any sort of spell, creatures, instant, sorcery, as long as it's 2 mana cost 2 or less, you can have it in your deck. So this could be one of the best companions in the set. Yeah, we really like this card, and I think we're going to see a lot of play from this card in Standard as a companion or not. Either way, I think this card's pretty cool. Alright guys, we've reached the end of today's spoilers. We'll see you tomorrow with more previews. For now, have a good one. That was all for today. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and click the bell icon if you want to get notified whenever we upload new videos. Have a good one.